undangan yang belum menikmati santap malam, boleh kiranya untuk dapat menikmati kembali santap malamnya. Dan mohon izin untuk tetap dapat mematuhi protokol kesehatan dengan tetap menggunakan masker dan juga menjaga jarak aman Anda agar bersama-sama kita tentunya dapat menjaga diri kita dari pandemi COVID-19.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to welcome to you to Palembang, South Sumatra, Indonesia in our special event, Press Summit 1 for Y20 Indonesia Youth for 2022.
Distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen, as our warmest greetings, we would like to present to you a traditional welcoming dance.
So please welcome the dancer from South Sumatra Provincial Culture and Tourism Office,
Tari Sriwijaya Jaya. give applause to Tari Sriwijaya Jaya.
Wow, what a fantastic traditional dance of Palembang, South Sumatra, Indonesia. Singgah sebentar ke Kampung Kapitan. Hadirin, selamat datang di bumi Sriwijaya, Palembang, Sumatera Selatan.
Jalan-jalan ke Kertapati, mampir dengan ke seberang ulu. Bapak Ibu yang kami hormati, terimalah salam jari 10. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We're very honored to welcome this distinguished guest to our event today. His Excellency, Ministers of Youth and Sports of Republic Indonesia, Bapak Haji Zainuddin Amali.
Her Excellency, Minister of Manpower of the Republic of Indonesia, Ibu Haja Ida Fauzia.
His Excellency, Ministers of Transportations of Republic Indonesia, Bapak Budi Karya Sumadi. His Excellency, Vice Governor of South Sumatra, Bapak Haji Mawardi Yahya.
His Excellency, the Secretary of Ministry of Youth and Sport, Bapak Joni Mardinal. His Excellency, Secretary General of Ministry of Trade, Bapak Soeharto. And Excellency, Secretary Generals, Deputies of Indonesian Ministries and Agencies.
Excellencies Ambassadors, Their Excellencies, Governor of Special Capital Districts of Jakarta, Bapak Anies Baswedan, Governor of East Kalimantan, Bapak Isran Nur, Governor of Papua Barat, Bapak Domingus Mandacan, Governor of West Java, Bapak Ridwan Kamil, Governor of West Nusa Tenggara, Bapak Zulkifli Mansyah.
Honorable chairs of working groups and engagement groups of the G20 Indonesia Presidency.
CEOs and directors representing the private sectors and partner of Indonesia Youth Diplomacy and Y20 Indonesia.
Co-chairs of the Y20 Indonesia.
Distinguished guests, all Y20 delegates, Y organizers, and youth tuning in from around the world.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, dan selamat malam, and welcome to
the first pre-summit of Y20 Indonesia 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Palembang, the capital city of South Sumatra, Indonesia. We were glad to have your presence here, wherever you were joining from all around the world, for the first pre-summit of Y20 Indonesia 2022.
And it's an honor for us. I'm Yesi Ismiralda, and my partner,
I am Dedi Kusuma,
to be the master of ceremonies for this event.
On behalf of the organizing committee, we were so pleased and honored to welcome you to this year's Youth 20 Pre-Summit in our country, Republic of Indonesia.
Well, the Y20 is a forum for future young leaders from all G20 member countries to discuss, argue, exchange ideas, and to reach a common agreement regarding the agenda of the G20 presidency. The result of the Y20 summit is the creation of the Y20 communique.
Furthermore, the host of the organizer change every year based on where the G20 presidency take place.
With the name From Recovery to Resilience, Rebuilding the Youth Agenda post COVID-19, this year's Y20 Summit is held in Indonesia. May I give you a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you.
Yesi, and all of the audience, today's event will take place in two parts. The first, we will listen to Y20 report by the co-chair of Y20 Indonesia 2022. And next, it will be followed by remarks from our distinguished ministers and the opening ceremony of the first pre-summit of Y20 Indonesia 2022.
The second part is a talk show that will specifically discuss social safety nets for informal and non-standard form for employment, led by an Indonesian delegate to the Y20 Indonesia 2022, Marcilla Panji.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to invite you to rise and sing the national anthem of Republic of Indonesia, Indonesia Raya, led by Pasha Ayu Kata Kartika.
Hadirin dimohon berdiri.
Thank you, and please be seated.
Hadirin dipersilakan duduk kembali. Before we proceeding to the main session, we would humbly invite Muhammad Raufal Islami LC Al-Hafiz to lead the prayer recitation. The prayer recitation is considered a tradition in the local ceremony to ask for the blessing of the Almighty. Raufal, the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bapak Ibu yang terhormat, serta rekan pemuda yang saya banggakan, untuk membuka acara pada malam hari ini, perkenankan saya memimpin doa menurut agama Islam. Bagi yang berkeyakinan lain, dipersilahkan untuk menyesuaikan. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Hamdan syakirin, hamdan na'imin, hamdan yu'afi ni'amahu wa yukafi'u mazidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhikal karimi wa 'azimi sultanik. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammadin al-Fatih lima ughliq wal khatimi lima sabaq, nasiril haqqi bil haqqi wal hadi ila siratikal mustaqim. Ya Allah, ya Rahman, ya Rahim, dengan rahmat-Mu pada malam hari ini kami khususnya pemuda Indonesia dapat hadir di tempat ini dalam rangka penyelenggaraan side events dari rangkaian pelaksanaan presidensi G20 tahun 2022 Indonesia Youth Diplomacy dengan topik Youth Employment di Palembang, Sumatera Selatan. Oleh karena itu, ya Allah, ya Rahman, ya Rahim, anugerahkan ridha-Mu, ya Allah, agar penyelenggaraan kegiatan Indonesia Youth Diplomacy ini dapat berjalan dengan baik, lancar, dan sukses, serta berdampak positif dan signifikan kepada pemuda dan generasi muda agar mampu berkontribusi bagi bangsa, negara, dan dunia internasional. Ya Allah, ya Allah, ya Rahayyu, ya Qayyum, bimbinglah langkah kami dan perjalanan kami agar kami para pemuda senantiasa dalam kebenaran dan kebaikan. Jadikanlah agenda dan acara Indonesia Youth Diplomacy dengan topik Youth Employment ini sebagai spirit pengembangan dan pemberdayaan pemuda supaya tumbuh menjadi pribadi yang kreatif, berdaya saing dan inovatif, serta dapat menumbuhkan minat kewirausahaan yang bernuansa kepeloporan dan pemuda yang penuh prestasi. Ya Allah, karuniakanlah kepada kami khususnya para pemuda agar memiliki kapasitas yang luas, memiliki kompetensi, dan kapabilitas agar mampu berkontribusi pada negara dan bangsa, serta pada dunia internasional dalam memanfaatkan digital information and transformation untuk hal positif dan membangun, menciptakan lapangan kerja secara nyata dan digital, berkontribusi pada sustainable and livable planet, pada diversity and inclusion, dan berkontribusi pada recovery to resiliency, rebuilding the youth agenda beyond COVID-19, serta mampu berkontribusi pada keadilan, perdamaian, dan kesejahteraan dunia, sebagaimana yang diamanatkan dalam pembukaan Undang-Undang tahun 1945. Ya Allah yang Maha Pemberi Taubat, ampunilah segala kesalahan dan dosa-dosa kami, dosa-dosa ibu bapak kami, dosa-dosa para guru kami, dan dosa-dosa para pahlawan bangsa kami, serta kesalahan dan dosa-dosa para pemimpin kami. Terimalah dan ridailah segala amal soleh kami, berikanlah petunjuk dan bimbingan kepada kami, serta petunjuk dan bimbingan kepada para pemimpin pemerintahan negara ini, Allah, agar dalam melaksanakan tugas dan tanggung jawabnya berjalan pada koridor yang benar, jalan yang lurus, dan mampu menjaga amanah sesuai dengan konstitusi dalam menempuh perjalanan dan cita-cita menuju Indonesia aman, makmur, dan sejahtera, sehingga menjadi negara yang maju dan negeri yang baldatun thayyibatun wa rabbun ghafur. Rabbana ighfir lana wa liwalidayna warhamhuma kama rabbayana shighara. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzabannar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa baraka wa sallam. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next item on our agenda will further introduce you to the Indonesian Youth Diplomacy, or Y20, as the organizing committee of Y20 Indonesia 2022. Now, allow us to give you a better understanding of Y20 as an organization and what we have done on the road to Y20 Indonesia 2022 through the following videos.
Indonesian Youth Diplomacy is a non-profit youth organization that actively promotes international exposure and drives inclusive empowerment for Indonesian youths to be influential voices at the national and international level. Through its 4 overriding missions: sustainability, inclusivity, relevance, and impact, we aim to ensure that the Indonesian youths understand the importance of their voice and role in national and global diplomacy and policymaking. Following the G20 presidency of Indonesia, IYD was given the mandate to be the official organizing committee for Y20 Indonesia 2022. Since 2010, Indonesia has been represented at the Y20 summits by astounding youths. 2010 G20 Youth Summit Vancouver, Canada. 2011 G20 Youth Summit Paris, France. 2012 G20 Youth Summit Washington, D.C., USA. 2013 Y8 Summit London, United Kingdom. 2013 Y20 Summit St. Petersburg, Russia. 2014 Y20 Summit Sydney, Australia. 2015 Y20 Summit Istanbul, Turkey. 2016 Y20 Summit Beijing and Shanghai, China. 2017 Y20 Summit Berlin, Germany. 2018 Y20 Summit Cordoba, Argentina. 2019 Y20 Summit Tokyo, Japan. 2020 Y20 Summit Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And 2021 Y20 Summit Milan, Italy. And now, it is time to welcome the Y20 delegates to our home, Indonesia. Right after Y20 Italy 2021, we started with a post-summit dissemination of the Y20 Italy 2021 communique with our G20 co-Sherpas and various stakeholders. Then we moved on to roadshows for the Indonesian delegate selection process and held a media gathering for the launch of Y20 Indonesia 2022. In January, we launched the Y20 white paper. And finally, we carried out our recruitment of the Indonesian and ASEAN delegation for Y20 Indonesia 2022. This year, our theme is From Recovery to Resilience, Rebuilding the Youth Agenda Beyond COVID-19. With 4 priority areas: youth employment, digital transformation, sustainable and livable planet, and diversity and inclusion. This year, for each pre-summits, we shall take you around Indonesia, where you shall see our diversity, cultures, people, and especially our youths. All of these will bring us to the Y20 Summit, which shall take place in 2 cities, Jakarta and Bandung. Y20 Summit Indonesia 2022 will also give youth startups and initiatives a chance to present their works by providing them a forum to network and for the international community to acknowledge them and perhaps be interested in purchasing their products at the Y20 2022 Virtual Expo. So let us move from recovery to resilience by rebuilding the youth agenda beyond COVID-19. See you at the Y20 Summit Indonesia 2022.
All right. Honorable distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, whether connecting virtually or attending in person, it is with great honor and pleasure for the youth of Indonesia to welcome you to our wonderful country, the chain of emerald along the equator and a paradise on earth.
And ladies and gentlemen, let's continue with the report by the co-chair of Y20 Indonesia 2022, Michael Victor Sianipar, on the overview of Y20 Indonesia 2022. Michael, the floor is yours.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, distinguished panelists and speakers, delegates and observers from all around the world who are participating both offline and also online, and also representatives of Indonesian youth from South Sumatra and also from the entire island of Sumatra. We want to thank you for your participation and attendance in tonight's event and also for the next few days. This is the first pre-summit event for Y20 Indonesia. I would also like to extend special thanks to Bapak Mawadi Yahya, Vice Governor of South Sumatra, and also to Mr. Jainuddin Amali, Minister of Youth and Sport, who will be giving the remarks through taping, and Mr. Joni Marizal, who is representing the Minister of Youth and Sports as Acting Secretary of the Ministry, Ibu Ida Fauzia, Minister of Manpower, who will also be giving the remarks virtually, Ibu Tri Risma Harini, who will also be participating online, with the Minister of Social Affairs, Bapak Suhanto, Secretary General of the Ministry of Trade, and also Mbak Ratu Teni Larifa, Mbak Iva, who is the Board of Advisor for Indonesian Youth Diplomacy South Sumatra, and Mbak Alia Laksono, the Special Staff to the Minister of Youth and Sports, and also to Mayumi and Mufasi as the co-chairs of South Sumatra IYD local chapter. I also want to thank all the delegates and observers who have made it all this far to Indonesia and also to Palembang. There's a reason why we are organizing this event in various places, the first of which is in Palembang. Because we believe that in order for us to really understand the voice of youth and also to really gain the perspective of young people from across Indonesia, and maybe not just Indonesia, but from all over the world, it is very important that we really spend the time and effort to meet with the young people in their respective areas. As you have heard from the video that there will be 4 pre-summit events. The first is in Palembang, which is here. Second is gonna be in Lombok. And the third one is gonna be in Manokwari. And the last one is in Balikpapan. And then the final summit will be in Jakarta and Bandung. The Y20 Organizing Committee is holding this event all across Indonesia because we want you to see and understand the perspective of youth from western part of Indonesia, the middle part of Indonesia, the eastern part of Indonesia, and also Balikpapan, which is close to or next to the future capital city, Ibu Kota Negara of Indonesia. And also joining us tonight in this hall, there are almost 100 young people from South Sumatra, representing yourself as youth and also representing many different youth organizations. I hope and believe that the next 2 days, we will have a great opportunity to exchange ideas and understanding. We will discuss a very crucial issue that is relevant to the global youth, which is youth employment. And underneath that big subject, there are 2 subtopics that we will discuss and also hear a lot more from the panelists, which is about the social safety net for young workers, especially those working in the non-formal workforce. And the second of which is about social entrepreneurship. There are many challenges that young people face unless we come up with a strategy and also commitment to grow together and also to develop together our skills, the 21st century skills that is needed. The benefit of globalization might not be felt by all youth equally. And hence, it is why we are holding this event by inviting young people from Sumatra. Because we want to also hear your voice, and we want you to participate in the discussion that will be done by the delegates from all over the world. There will be, of course, the main event that is going to be only for the official delegates, but leading to that event, there will be not just talk show, but also focus group discussion and also a town hall meeting involving the youth here in Palembang. So I look forward to the discussion and to the meeting. There will be future virtual tour, city tour, and also the physical city tour as well tomorrow. And we really hope that whatever is discussed today, tonight, and tomorrow will not just end here in Palembang, but we will develop all these ideas leading to the summit in Jakarta, Bandung. And eventually, we will draft a communique that I hope and believe will be worth representing to the President of Indonesia, Mr. Joko Widodo. And all this discussion and ideas that have been going on over the years, we hope that this year will be different. There's going to be something more significant and impactful from the discussion that is done in Y20 Indonesia. And the organizing committee will do our utmost work to make sure that you have every opportunity to talk and share ideas. We welcome delegates from across the world. We welcome embassies who are represented here tonight as well to share with us and also to come up with the communique that we can be proud of. So without further ado, I want to conclude the remarks and the report. Again, we thank you for your participation, and I hope to hear more from you for the next 2 days and your ideas. Thank you.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the welcome address will be delivered by His Excellency Minister of the Youth and Sport of the Republic of Indonesia, Bapak Haji Zainuddin Amali. The Ministry of Youth and Sport is the mother ministry of the Y20 Indonesia.
Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Yang terhormat Dr. Haja Ida Fauzia MS, Menteri Tenaga Kerja Republik Indonesia, yang terhormat Bapak Haji Hermanderu SHMM, Gubernur Provinsi Sumatera Selatan, Delegasi Y20 Indonesia 2022 yang saya hormati, para pemuda Indonesia, hadirin sekalian, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat malam, salam dari Jakarta. Merupakan suatu kehormatan bagi saya menjadi bagian dari acara ini. Dengan senang hati saya menyambut Anda di pra-KTT ke-1 Y20 Indonesia 2022. Sangat disayangkan beberapa dari Anda tidak dapat melakukan perjalanan ke Palembang karena pandemi. Namun, saya sangat berharap Anda masih dapat memanfaatkan sepenuhnya acara ini untuk bertukar pikiran, berdiskusi, dan berbagi gagasan mengenai youth employment. Para delegasi yang saya hormati, hadirin sekalian, kita tahu bahwa dalam 2 tahun terakhir, masyarakat dunia menghadapi tantangan global yang cukup berat akibat pandemi COVID-19, termasuk kaum muda. Pandemi tentu berdampak pada beberapa kegiatan yang berkaitan dengan pembinaan generasi muda di negeri ini. Pandemi ini merupakan tantangan besar bagi kita semua. Tetapi juga merupakan peluang untuk awal yang baru. Undang-undang tentang kepemudaan telah mendefinisikan bahwa pemuda sebagai warga negara yang berusia antara 16 hingga 30 tahun. Berdasarkan survei sosial ekonomi nasional Indonesia, perkiraan populasi pemuda Indonesia saat ini sekitar kurang lebih 67 juta. Itu berarti sekitar 1/4 dari total penduduk Indonesia. Memiliki jumlah penduduk di usia produktif yang begitu besar, berarti potensi yang besar pula bagi pembangunan bangsa ini. Sebagai pemuda, saya yakin Anda ingin tahu lebih banyak tentang situasi pemuda di Indonesia saat ini. Indeks pembangunan pemuda mengukur perkembangan pemuda dalam 5 domain, yaitu pendidikan, kesehatan dan kesejahteraan, lapangan kerja dan kesempatan kerja, partisipasi dan kepemimpinan, serta gender dan diskriminasi. Indeks tersebut mengalami penurunan pada tahun 2020, yaitu pencapaiannya hanya 51 dari yang sebelumnya 52,61 pada tahun 2019. Pandemi COVID-19 berdampak pada pembangunan Indonesia secara keseluruhan, termasuk generasi muda. Dampak signifikan dari pandemi COVID-19 terutama terlihat pada indikator tingkat pengangguran terbuka di kalangan pemuda. Sangat disayangkan jika anak muda kita yang berada di usia produktif tidak dapat menggunakan tenaga dan kemampuannya untuk mendapatkan pekerjaan. Namun, kita tahu bahwa mencari pekerjaan tidaklah mudah, apalagi di masa pandemi. Indonesia mendorong promosi kemandirian ekonomi dan wirausaha muda untuk meningkatkan kemampuan dan harga diri mereka supaya bergerak memenuhi pasar-pasar tenaga kerja. Kami ingin menciptakan wirausahawan muda yang dapat melakukan atau menyiapkan lapangan kerja sendiri tanpa tergantung dengan pihak lain. Kami berharap atau kami mendorong para pemuda menjadi job creator, bukan menjadi job seeker. Para delegasi yang saya hormati hadirin sekalian, kewirausahaan di kalangan pemuda adalah salah satu dari 5 prioritas Kementerian Pemuda dan Olahraga Republik Indonesia dalam kurun waktu tahun 2020 hingga tahun 2024 yang akan datang. Ini bertujuan untuk memberdayakan pemuda agar menjadi kreatif, inovatif, mandiri, dan berdaya saing. Dan kita harapkan bisa mempunyai jiwa kewirausahaan atau entrepreneurship. Kementerian Pemuda dan Olahraga akan selalu mendukung dan memberikan akses yang lebih besar kepada usaha kecil menengah untuk mengembangkan usahanya. Berdasarkan permasalahan yang teridentifikasi, terutama di era pandemi, maka pemerintah telah menyiapkan skema bantuan yang sesuai dengan kebutuhan. Di masa pandemi, UMKM memainkan peran penting dalam membantu masyarakat melewati masa krisis ekonomi dan menciptakan peluang untuk menjadi penopang perekonomian nasional. Pandemi tentu membatasi ruang gerak kaum muda dan sektor-sektor keuangan mereka. Disinilah mereka harus memikirkan kembali bagaimana cara bertahan hidup dan bangkit dari keterpurukan. Kami percaya bahwa wirausahawan muda akan menjadi tulang punggung perekonomian negara ini. Selain itu, kita juga harus mendorong pola pikir pemuda untuk mau bekerja sama dan bertukar pikiran dengan pengusaha muda lainnya untuk memperluas wawasan dalam persaingan global. Para delegasi yang saya hormati, Y20 adalah forum tepat yang dapat Anda manfaatkan untuk berdiskusi dan mencoba memecahkan masalah pemuda, serta mendorong pemerintah dan pemimpin negara masing-masing untuk mendukung dan mengenali pemecahan masalah. Namun, saya sangat berharap ini tidak hanya berhenti di komunikasi saja, tetapi bisa menjadi tindakan nyata yang bermanfaat. Akhirnya, izinkan saya menyampaikan harapan terbaik kepada semua delegasi, peserta dan perwakilan pemuda di sini. Saya berharap Anda dapat memanfaatkan forum ini untuk mendiskusikan berbagai hal tentang kepemudaan, dan saya berharap Anda bisa menikmati kegiatan ini dengan penuh kehangatan. Dan tentu jangan lupa untuk tetap selalu menjaga kesehatan. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the keynote speech by Her Excellency, the Ministers of Manpower of Republic of Indonesia, Ibu Hajah Ida Fauzia.
Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
The Honorable His Excellency Mr. Zainuddin Amali, Minister of Youth and Sports of the Republic of Indonesia, Mr. Herman Deru, Governor of South Sumatra, Co-Chair of Y20, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. May peace be upon us. Good morning, good afternoon, Good evening. It is great honor for me to be present today at the first pre-summit of Y20 Indonesia 2022, themed Youth Employment in support of the G20 Presidency of Indonesia in 2022. This moment is a sign of support for the continuous commitment of G20 members countries to improve empowering youths in the world of work. This is our collective efforts to continuously increase the level of participation and economic opportunities in the world of work for the younger generation by supporting their role and position in the workplace so that they can achieve a fair and decent work environment that is free from each discrimination. This commitment is manifestation of the previous G20 leaders' commitment contained in the Melbourne Declaration 2014 to take concrete action to place youth in education, training, or employment. In addition, this is also an effort to achieve Antalaya's commitment to the 2025 target, which is to reduce in the youth unemployment rates to 15% by 2025. On this auspicious occasion, I would also like to convey my appreciation and gratitude to the event organizer, all participants and all parties who have contributed to supporting the implementation of this event. Thank you for taking the time to be an important part on this event. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, based on projection from the World Agency, the number of youth population is predicted increase by 7% in 2030. By 2025, it is predicted that 15% of the youth workforce will be unemployed. One of the efforts that can make a positive contribution both in the context of reducing youth unemployment and improving the economy is by synergizing these two things, namely increasing the participation of the young generation in priority sectors of the economy. This event is the right momentum for all of us to be able to discuss, share, and provide input to provide greater employment opportunities for youths, especially during the pandemic and digital disruption era. The crisis has put youth at higher risk of obtaining lower wages from working in the informal sector to non-standard forms of work, which are rarer and less safe compared to working in the formal sector. The pandemic has also shown us the urgency of the need to formulate strategies and find solutions to deal with them. The health crisis has created greater pressure on the system, including socioeconomic facilities, which also has an impact on the survival of youths. Therefore, we must see the issue of empowering youths in the world of work and business as essential, as well as supporting youths to gain access to job training and obtain jobs in order to have a better life in the future. Distinguished delegates, a global trend which includes climate change, digitalization, market globalization, and demographic change contribute to the acceleration of technology diffusion and innovation. New jobs begin to emerge and replace old jobs in each type of work. The required skill and competencies have changed along with the increasing knowledge of production processes and services. The G20 leaders calls for quality jobs to be at the core of the economic recovery in times of pandemic and response to global challenges and committed to implementing a recovery plan that supports decent work, helps maintain jobs and prioritize inclusive job growth. In addition, the G20 leaders have committed to various youth issues, including in the economic sector, by providing full participation to improve the economy and education, as well as a series of key policy principles to improve the quality of youth empowerment. Equipping the young workforce with the skills needed for current and future jobs is a strategic matter that needs to be considered for national growth and development prospects in all G20 countries. The G20 leaders have pledged to support a strong training strategy to meet the challenges caused by the crisis and global trends in order to achieve strong, sustainable and balanced growth in each country and at the global level. Eventually, the well-being of any country depends on how many people in that country are working and how productive they are. We could depend on the skills they have and how effectively they use those skills. Skills are the cornerstone of creating decent jobs. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the government of Indonesia strives to prepare a high-quality young generation. We recognize the importance of improving skill and competitiveness for the youths. This is an attempt to bring youth who are still not in employment, education, or training into the labor market so that they have opportunities for being employed and getting income. The government of Indonesia continues to strengthen national efforts on skills development through job training and apprenticeship program to better prepare youth for transitioning in the world of work. In this uncertain time, the government of Indonesia also continues to encourage youth to be independent entrepreneurs and even further to create jobs and opportunities for others. Entrepreneurship plays an important role due to its increasingly significant role in creating new jobs. The government of Indonesia seeks to increase the number of entrepreneurs by implementing various programs. This includes self-employed worker, a program to create new entrepreneurs with a regional potential, voluntary workers who provide assistance to prospective entrepreneurs participating in the self-employed worker program, and entrepreneurship training at the job training center through a reskilling program for prospective new implementing the development of special economic zones through the country, which already operates in 12 areas and is in the development stage in another 3 areas. In addition, the government seeks to grow and develop new entrepreneurs by building new business areas in several sectors, including food, beverages, fresheners, wood, and furniture. The government also aims to develop businesses in the outermost and undeveloped areas with the participation of 50% women and 50% men. This program have increased the participation of the youth workforce in August 2021 by 31.5 million, or around 24% of the total workforce. The increased participation is reflected in the decline of youth not in education, employment, or training, which fell to 24.98%. Also in the same years of 2021, 62.19% of the total youth workforce participate in training program included as part of our efforts to be better prepared youth to face the transition in the world of work. Distinguished delegates, throughout this year's G20 presidency, Indonesia will continue to encourage the role of the G20 to ensure that community development is carried out in an inclusive, equitable, and prosperous manner. The government of Indonesia continues to encourage the G20 to increase equality and empowerment of young women and men around the world through various progressive intervention to reduce the gap in youth participation in the world of work. Indonesia believes that advancing youth empowerment in the world of work will promote inclusive and sustainable economic growth, particularly for the development of the G20 economy. Indonesia emphasized the efforts to continue to mitigate the impact of the pandemic and prepare for the recovery of the COVID-19 pandemic through concrete collaboration with other stakeholders in the group of G20 to support commitment in various fields. For instance, by promoting inclusive economic growth, creating many sustainable and human-centered jobs, providing quality jobs for youth and women, and providing access to adequate social protection for all. Indonesia, by promoting dialogue, will encourage the G20 to work together in terms of compiling data collection and providing job skill training for workers, particularly youth, so that they can work as economically productive workers to generate income for themselves and their families. These efforts need to be targeted and scaled up to achieve the development goals identified by the G20 leaders. Through the spirit of humanity, cooperation, and collaboration, we need to increase efforts to promote national policies and measures towards youth empowerment so that they can develop further and have better opportunities at work, as well as to be able to obtain their rights, receive equal treatment, and have access to work without discrimination. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to end my remarks by expressing my gratitude for your participation in this event. This effort will be our effort to recover together in a more inclusive and even better way. Togetherness and cooperation are the main keys to these efforts. The government cannot work alone. In this regard, we encourage more stakeholders and social partners to play a greater role in youth empowerment by providing more recommendations, developing policies, programs, and other supporting tools, and also to provide access, employment, and entrepreneurship opportunities for youths to create further opportunities in our society and economy. To end my remarks, I would like to quote the words from the first President of Indonesia, Insinyur Soekarno, who stated, "Give me 10 youths, I will undoubtedly seek toward, keep moving forward young generation of Indonesia." Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the keynote speech by His Excellency, the Minister of Transportation of the Republic of Indonesia, Bapak Budi Karya Sumadi.
Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, dan salam kebajikan. Yang saya hormati Menteri Pemuda dan Olahraga Bapak Y20 Amali, yang saya hormati Menteri Sosial Ibu Tri Risma Harini, yang saya hormati Gubernur Sumatera Selatan Bapak Herman Deru atau yang mewakili, dan Bapak Ibu rekan-rekan delegasi peserta yang saya banggakan. Puji syukur kita panjatkan pada Allah Ta'ala bahwa atas limpahan rahmat dan karunia kita bisa tetap hadir walaupun di masa pandemi ini. Dan acara pra-KTT Y20 presidensi G20 Indonesia ketenagakerjaan muda. Hadirin undangan yang saya hormati, merupakan kebanggaan bagi saya dapat berdiri di hadapan delegasi terpilih untuk berpartisipasi acara Y20 presidensi G20. Oleh sebab itu saya mengucapkan selamat dan apresiasi setinggi-tingginya kepada seluruh delegasi yang terpilih. Apresiasi juga saya sampaikan kepada seluruh pihak yang terlibat dalam penyelenggaraan acara meski di tengah keterbatasan akibat pandemi. Bapak, Ibu hadirin yang berbahagia, seperti yang kita alami bersama, pandemi COVID-19 membawa dampak yang sangat destruktif bagi pekerja muda di seluruh dunia, tidak terkecuali di Indonesia. Lonjakan angka pengangguran akibat menurunnya permintaan tenaga kerja menjadi bencana yang harus dihadapi para pekerja. Tidak hanya itu, para pekerja yang didominasi oleh pemuda ini seolah semakin terdorong pada pekerjaan dengan kualitas yang lebih rendah. Dengan berbagai kondisi tersebut, perlindungan dan dukungan terhadap pekerjaan menjadi semakin dibutuhkan oleh para pemuda. Jaring-jaring pengaman sosial sejatinya memiliki peran penting dalam melindungi pekerja muda dari risiko pekerjaan yang tidak stabil yang berpotensi melebarkan jurang ketidaksetaraan, terutama bagi pekerja sektor informal dan non-standar. Kewirausahaan sosial juga perlu dipromosikan untuk memberi kesempatan bagi para pemuda dalam membangun masa depan, berkontribusi terhadap penciptaan lapangan kerja, serta mengatasi tantangan masyarakat melalui solusi yang inovatif dan berdampak. Hadirin undangan yang kami hormati, sejalan dengan kegiatan Y20 presidensi G20 Indonesia di tahun 2022 yang berfokus kepada isu prioritas ketenagakerjaan pemuda. Saya sangat mendukung semua kegiatan dan inisiatif yang digagas para pemuda. Dalam konteks Kementerian Perhubungan, saya mendorong generasi muda untuk turut berkontribusi pembangunan bangsa melalui wadah komunitas insan muda transmutasi. Kami sering sebut mereka itu IMUT. Komunitas IMUT ini seringkali kami libatkan dalam pembicaraan dan kegiatan strategis dengan harapan dapat mempercepat proses transfer of knowledge. Dan saya yakin jika pemuda diberikan wadah dan tempat seperti komunitas IMUT dan forum Y20 ini akan lahir banyak calon-calon pemimpin masa depan dengan pemikiran dan ide kreatif yang dapat berkontribusi dalam pembangunan bangsa. Dengan semangat yang sama seperti yang saya inisiasi komunitas IMUT, saya yakin dan berharap seluruh tantangan yang muncul akibat pandemi ini tidak sekalipun menyurutkan para pemuda. Oleh sebab itu, Kementerian Perhubungan terus mendorong peran pemuda dalam membangun infrastruktur dan SDM transportasi yang kompeten dalam rangka memberikan pelayanan terbaik bagi masyarakat. Kementerian Perhubungan juga secara aktif mempersiapkan pemuda-pemudi untuk dapat berkontribusi positif dalam sektor transportasi darat, laut, udara, dan perkereta-apian. Hal ini dapat dilakukan melalui pembinaan sekolah-sekolah kedinasan di bawah naungan Kementerian Perhubungan demi membangun masa depan yang lebih baik. Demikian beberapa hal yang saya sampaikan. Semoga Allah SWT senantiasa melimpahkan petunjuk dan bimbingan kepada kita semuanya. Sekian, terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, dan salam kebajikan.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, being a host of this big and special event is a pride of this province, South Sumatra, Indonesia. And now, we would like to invite the Vice Governor of South Sumatra, Bapak Haji Mawardi Yahya, to give the opening speech and to officially open the first press summit of Y20 Indonesia 2022. Boleh berikan tepuk tangan yang meriah sekali lagi untuk Wakil Gubernur Sumatera Selatan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yang sama-sama kita hormati PLT Sekretaris Kementerian Pemuda dan Olahraga, Bapak Dr. Joni Marbizal ya Pak. Ya, ini orang Sumbaksel juga Pak, orang Kerinci. Yang saya hormati Sekretaris Jenderal Kementerian Perdagangan Republik Indonesia, Bapak Suhanto. Yang sama-sama kita hormati Bapak Ibu sekalian, Co-Chair of Y20 Indonesia 2022, yaitu Mr. Senipar. Yang sama-sama kita hormati Bapak Ibu sekalian, ini hadir Perkompinda Provinsi Sumatera Selatan atau yang mewakili, dan hadir juga yaitu ini Pak, karena hadir juga Sekjen Menpora, ini hadir Ibu Ratu Lapira Hermanderu, Pak, salah satu daripada yaitu Duta Literasi Sumatera Selatan, sekaligus Pak saya laporkan Ketua Kormi Sumatera Selatan. Nah, mungkin kalau ada yang belum paham, Kormi adalah salah satu yang membidangi olahraga rekreasi. Dan saya hormati Kapolrestabes Palembang, sempat hadir Bapak Ibu sekalian, para OPD, para peserta delegasi I20 Indonesia Pre-Summit Youth Implement, dan Bapak Ibu sekalian, tidak bisa kami sebut satu persatu, insya Allah tidak mengurangi hormat kami kepada seluruh yang hadir pada kesempatan yang baik ini. Yang pertama, Bapak Ibu sekalian, seyogyanya malam hari ini, acara ini akan dibuka langsung oleh Bapak Gubernur karena beliau ada acara yang bertepatan waktunya, maka sebab itu beliau tidak dapat hadir bersama kita pada malam hari ini. Sebab itu beliau menyampaikan permohonan maaf yang sebesar-besarnya. Bapak Ibu sekalian, mengawali sambutan ini tentunya marilah kita semua untuk mempersembahkan puji syukur kepada Allah SWT, Tuhan Yang Maha Esa, bahwa pada malam hari ini kita dapat berkumpul bersama di tempat ini dalam rangka pembukaan kegiatan Y20 Pre-Summit 2022 Local Chapter South Sumatra. Saudara-saudara, Bapak Ibu sekalian, pada kesempatan yang berbahagia ini, kami atas nama pribadi maupun atas nama pemerintah Provinsi Sumatera Selatan mengucapkan terima kasih yang sebesar-besarnya bahwa di dalam acara khususnya Sumatera ini ditempatkan di Sumatera Selatan. Oleh sebab itu, Bapak Ibu sekalian, kami atas nama pribadi dan atas nama pemerintah sebagai tuan rumah acara pertemuan ini mengucapkan terima kasih yang sebesar-besarnya. Semoga Bapak Ibu sekalian dan seluruh delegasi nantinya Bapak Ibu sekalian dapat betah, insya Allah dapat mungkin Bapak Ibu sekalian ya berjalan-jalan di kota Palembang, mungkin beberapa bermacam-macam, yaitu mungkin makanan. Silakan Bapak Ibu sekalian, mungkin ada beberapa hari ini mungkin berikan kesempatan untuk yaitu nantinya di Sumatera Selatan, karena saya ini hadir Sekretaris Menpora, bahwa ada juga yaitu sarana olahraga yang tingkat internasional, yaitu di kota Palembang ini yang pernah digunakan SEA Games kemarin, Pak. Oleh sebab itu, Bapak Ibu sekalian, mungkin bagi yang belum pernah kami persilahkan. Bapak Ibu yang sekalian saya hormati, pada kesempatan ini tentunya saya tidak panjang lebar menyampaikan kata sambutan Bapak Ibu sekalian. Adapun organisasi ini adalah organisasi yang memberikan ruang kepada pemuda-pemuda kita yang mempunyai kompetensi, yang mempunyai mungkin dedikasi, yang mempunyai wawasan untuk di dalam hal Bapak Ibu sekalian membawa kemajuan, yaitu di dalam tentunya menata masa depannya, yaitu hal ini bukan secara lokal tapi termasuk wawasan yaitu secara nasional. Banyak isu-isu Bapak Ibu sekalian yang tentunya Bapak Ibu sekalian sekarang mungkin dalam pembahasan-pembahasan yang pertama mungkin karena COVID ini Bapak Ibu sekalian 19 ini tentunya isu-isu ekonomi mungkin Bapak Ibu sekalian sangat penting mungkin untuk dibahas. Bagaimana nantinya jalan keluarnya di dalam yaitu isu-isu ekonomi ini hingga mampu nantinya semua kita, negara kita, daerah kita, masyarakat kita memberikan ruang kembali meningkatkan ekonomi Bapak Ibu sekalian. Selain daripada itu juga Bapak Ibu sekalian yang saya hormati, pada kesempatan ini isu-isu lainnya mungkin finansial iklim Bapak Ibu sekalian dan juga masalah budaya-budaya tentunya Bapak Ibu sekalian. Tapi Bapak Ibu sekalian pada kesempatan ini ya saya kira Sumatera Selatan juga banyak bermacam-macam budaya nantinya, sebab itu wawasan antar pemuda baik antar provinsi, antar negara tentunya disinilah ruangnya bagi pemuda-pemuda tentunya untuk yaitu memberikan kemajuan, memberikan sumbangsinya kepada negara kita Republik Indonesia. Saya kira hanya itulah Bapak Ibu sekalian yang dapat saya sampaikan. Mohon maaf yang sebesar-besarnya atas perhatiannya, kami ucapkan terima kasih dengan mengucapkan Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Kegiatan Y20 Pre-Summit I 2022 Local Chapter Sud Sumatera dengan resmi saya nyatakan dibuka.
Mohon izin Bapak untuk berkenan tetap berada di tempat. And we would like also to invite Bapak Joni Mardizal, Bapak Suhanto, Bapak Michael Victor Sianipar, Ibu Ratu Teni Leriva, Ibu Mayumi Itsua, dan juga Bapak Mufasih to be on stage. Alright, we are going to process the opening ceremony of this big event.
Baik, dan kami perkenankan untuk rekan-rekan media boleh bersiap-siap untuk langsung mengabadikan. Namun mohon izin untuk tetap menjaga protokol kesehatan kita bersama agar tetap bisa kita bersama menjaga keamanan kita.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite you to see the screen, dan kami mohon berkenan Bapak Ibu untuk menghadap ke layar yang berada di belakang Bapak Ibu semuanya. Untuk sama-sama kita akan melakukan penekanan tombol sebagai simbol dibuka secara resminya acara pada hari ini.
We will immediately start the process of the opening ceremony. Your Excellency, please push the button in 3, 2, 1. Let's give applause, ladies and gentlemen. And the first pre-summit of Y20 Indonesia 2022 is officially open.
Mohon berkenan berikan tepukan tangan yang meriah sekali lagi. Inilah peresmian dari first pre-summit of the Y20 Indonesia 2022.
Mohon izin untuk berfoto sejenak Bapak. Kita akan mengabadikan momen kebahagiaan ini terlebih dahulu. Mohon izin Bapak Wakil Gubernur untuk tetap berada di tempat. Kita berfoto sejenak.
Iya. Alright, this is the time for take a group photo. Alright. This is the group photo for the Vice Governor of South Sumatra, Bapak Haji Mawardi Yahya, Bapak Joni Mardizal, Bapak Suhanto, Bapak Michael Victor Sianipar, Ibu Ratu Teni Leriva, Ibu Mayumi Itsua, dan juga Bapak Mufasi. Ladies and gentlemen, so show your best smile for this group photo.
Baik, terima kasih dan mohon izin untuk Bapak Wakil Gubernur tetap berada di tempat. Dan bagi tamu yang lain mohon izin untuk dapat duduk kembali. Now we would like to invite Marcela Panji, the Indonesia Delegate for Youth Employment to Y20 Indonesia 2022. And Eduardo Alonso Arechaga, the observer of the Y20 Indonesia 2022, to be on the stage.
All right, in this moment, we will symbolically pair tanja and gandhi to the representative of delegates and observers present today. This will also represent the official start of the first pre-summit of Y20 Indonesia 2022.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, now we see the Excellency. Would you please to pair Gandik into Marcela Panji? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Boleh berikan tepuk tangan yang meriah, Bapak Ibu.
And the next tanja to Eduardo Alonso Arechaga.
Baik, terima kasih. Berikan tepuk tangan yang
Please
meriah
take a
sekali
photos
lagi.
first.
And let's take a group photo. Ini kalau udah bisa pakai tanja dan gandhi sudah sah menjadi
Wong Palembang.
Wong Palembang. Udah bisa ngirup cuko. Baik, terima kasih sekali lagi Bapak Wakil Gubernur Sumatera Selatan. Thank you for Eduardo Alonso Arechaga and also Marcela Panji.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Y20 Organizing Committee, we thank the sponsor who have contributed to the success the first pre-summit of the Y20 Indonesia Presidency 2022. Peluang, Goto, Bank Sentral Asia, and Tanoto Foundation.
Distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen, for the next agenda, we invite you to witness the wonders of Western Indonesia, where you will see our diverse cultures and peoples, especially the youth.
Without further ado, please enjoy the wonders of Indonesia. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we were so sorry for the inconvenience. There was technical troubles. And now let's move to the next agenda.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, even though we haven't been able to meet in person at this time, I'm happy to present a virtual city tour for all of the attendees. And now, please enjoy the virtual city tour of Palembang, South Sumatra, Indonesia.
Halo, apa kabar? Welcome to Palembang. Let's take a look around the city and rolling! Looking back 100 years ago, Palembang was the marine capital of the largest Buddhist kingdom in the Nusantara, called Sriwijaya. This is proven by the Kedukan Bukit Prasasti, which was found in Bukit Siguntang. The prasasti written in the Pala characters found by C.J. Battenberg in 1920.
Beside Bukit Siguntang, there are many historical sites in Palembang, such as Kuto Besar Fort, which was established since 1780. This fort was the center of the Palembang Sultanate government.
Hi Kak, do you know about this monument? This monument shows us that Palembang is one of important city in Indonesian history. This monument called Monumen Perjuangan Rakyat or the Fighting Monument, which means symbolizes the fight from South Sumatra in defending Indonesian independence.
From this Montpera, we can also see one of the most famous landmarks in Palembang city, which is the Ampera Bridge. Ampera is an abbreviation of the Commandment of People Suffering. With a length of more than 1.1 kilometers, the Ampera Bridge is crossing the Musi River, connecting the area from Ulu to Ilir.
After enjoying the historical tourism of Palembang city, there is a tour that you should not miss in Palembang, which is culinary tourism. Palembang is famous with exceptional authentic culinary. One of the most famous delicacies from Palembang is pempek. Pempek is a savory Indonesian fish cake delicacy made of fish, tapioca, and spices, producing a chewy texture. The dough can be made into various shapes and forms.
Hi guys! So we are super hungry right now and we want to try one of the best signature dish from Palembang city. We are here in Pempek Saga Sudi Mampir. So the first dish that we want to try out is this.
The most popular,
the
right?
most popular one is called Pempek Kulit. And then we have Pempek Lenjer. And then we also have Pempek Telur.
And then the combination is Pempek Panggang.
And the next one is Pempek Lenggang.
Yeah.
It's made up from egg and flour. And the one that we have at the moment is model and Taekwon. So the model itself is made from tofu and fish.
Taekwon?
Yeah. The Taekwon is
Made with fish, yeah?
yeah. Same.
So, we want to try.
How was it?
So yummy. Like Justin Bieber song. You got the yummy. Very nice. Do you know what? This is how Palembang eat pempek. So they'll slip the cuko like this. It tastes so yummy. So we have tried all of them, and this is something that you don't want to miss out when you're in Palembang.
Pempek also has an interesting historical story. This food was created as a result of a cultural acculturation between the authentic Palembang tribe and the immigrants from China. The reason why the name is Pempek it seems that the creator of pempek is a person from China. It didn't have a name at first, but when people wanted to order the food they called pek, apek, thus eventually creating the name of this food called pempek.
Apek, the person behind pempek, was inspired by the overflowing fishery products in Musi River. He combined fish with tapioca flour, similar to the food brought by immigrants from China, which is meatball. The only difference is that the fish smell from the pempek is more suitable with the chuko sauce, which has a taste of three elements: sweet, sour, and spicy. And according to the name, it does contain vinegar, resembling the Indonesian word for chuka, also containing tamarind, brown sugar, and other spices. Every store has its own different taste of chuko.
Alright, after having a taste of pempek, we are now moving to one of the historical landmarks of Palembang. I present to you Jakabaring Sport City Stadium, or as we know, the Gelora Sriwijaya Stadium. This monument was built for the PON 2004, SEA Games 2011, and the Asian Games 2018. These landmarks consist of maximum capacity of 40,000 people. It was built on 325 hectares of land, and that's it. Wow, look at the time. I think I need to go somewhere. I'm gonna order some ride online application then.
After we saw various city landmarks, Palembang also has other beauty that can be enjoyed, even worn. This is the Palembang Songket. The motif of the Palembang Songket has been established as Indonesia's incredible cultural heritage in 2013 by the Ministry of Education and Culture.
Songket fabric has existed and was famous since the Kingdom of Sriwijaya and the Sultanate of Palembang. It is said that the songket fabric was only intended for kings or generation of nobles, but now everyone, regardless of their titles, can wear it proudly.
Like a river flowing so surely, the youth of Palembang learned to grow with modernization alongside the wisdom of our ancestors. Musi River is not only a river that flows through our city. It is our livelihood and our pride, our past and our future. As the sky goes darker, Musi River is livelier than ever. And the most favorite activities during the nighttime is food hunting.
The food from the side of this Musi River is well known and is considered as a must for all visitors who come to Palembang City. The place is not far from the Ampera Bridge. Palembang, as the host of Y20 Pre-Summit for Youth Employment, have many tourism attractions that worth to visit. We're looking forward to welcoming all of you in Palembang.
Okay, so we're done for today. So,
see you!
Oh, wow!
Wow, Yesi and all of the audience, what a fantastic virtual tour of the city. Wow.
That was amazing.
Yes,
I
I
love
believe
the food so much anyway.
that's right. I believe all of the attendees are now mesmerized with the beauty and historical legacies of Palembang. And the video shows that Palembang is the treasure trove that finding exceptional cuisine, the best songket clothes,
Yes.
and the authentic historical landmarks. And this is the most important thing, that we are so glad Palembang is the home to the first pre-summit of Y20 Indonesia 2022.
All right, Daddy, we are going to the next agenda. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the first segment of our program. We hope you will stay with us as we catch up with the talk show from the first press summit of Y20 Indonesia 2022.
And we have an incredible lineup of speakers on our talk show today. Joining us live from Palembang and around the world, we were very honored to welcome our distinguished speakers that will give us some insight related to youth employment, the priority area of the first press summit of Y20 Indonesia 2022.
Ladies and gentlemen, to lead us through the talk show about social safety nets for informal and non-standard form of employment, we invite Mrs. Marcila Panji, the Indonesian delegate for youth employment to Y20 Indonesia 2022.
Marcela, the floor is yours.
All right, hello everyone, good evening. Greetings, excellencies, distinguished guests and delegates, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Marcila Panji and I'm the Indonesian delegate for youth employment to Y20 Indonesia 2022. And it is my great honor to be here and moderate our first talk show for tonight with the theme of social safety nets for informal and non-standard forms of employment. As previously mentioned, this topic is actually one of the sub-themes or priority issues that will be discussed in this year's Y20 Summit. As we are aware, youth are vulnerable to unemployment and precarious work, especially in informal and non-standard forms of employment. The current pandemic and the changing nature of work add to their vulnerabilities to job uncertainties and low-quality jobs. Therefore, adequate social safety nets are crucial to prevent our targeted youth as to prevent them from falling further into poverty and social exclusion. Now, here with us tonight are 4 distinguished speakers who will enlighten us on the subject matter. First is the Honorable Minister of Social Affairs of Indonesia, Ibu Tri Risma Harini, or Ibu Risma. Hopefully she will be joining us soon. But also present with us here tonight also are Mr. Rangga Dian Fadila, the Vice President of Public Policy and Government Relations of GOTO. Is Mr. Rangga here? Okay, please take your seat, Rangga. Welcome and thank you very much for joining us here tonight. Next, we also have Ms. Clarice Campbell, the National President of Australia-Indonesia Youth Association and Catalyst Lead Advisor for Skills. Hi, Clarice, please. And last but not least, we also have Mr. Samir Katiwada, the Technology and Innovation Social Sector Specialist at the Asian Development Bank, who will also be joining us virtually. Is Mr. Samir here? All right, hello, Mr. Samir. Thank you for joining us here tonight. All right, so now, without further ado, let us welcome Ibu Minister Risma to open our discussion by giving us a broad overview of social safety nets for young people in Indonesia. Now, a few minutes ago, I was told that she was still on the go, and she is unlikely to be joining us here with us tonight so far. Okay, so let us just move on to the speakers that we have in the room tonight. First, I think I want to move to Rangga. So Rangga, you're as the VP of GOTO, which is essentially the #1 digital or technology company in Indonesia. It has made significant impact, not only on the growth of digital economy, but also on the social dynamics and the mobility of its partners, yeah, drivers, merchants, etc., who we refer to as the non-standard workers, yeah, people who don't work full-time under definite contract. So in that regard, in that context, we want to know, how does GoTo provide access to social safety nets programs for the non-standard workers in its ecosystem? So kindly share with us perhaps in the next 5 to 7 minutes. Please, Ranga, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very Check. Thank you. This one is good. Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm very happy to be here representing GoTo. As you know, GoTo is Gojek and Tokopedia after our merger recently. And very happy to share some of the initiatives and also the programs that we are having in our company to provide full support for our driver partners and merchants that are building together our ecosystem to provide digital services to our customers as well as to users in general. So next slide. I'm actually preparing some slides, but since the timing is quite tricky, so next slide. Yeah, this is a little bit of introductions of GoTo after the merger. Now GoTo is a holding company of 3 business entities. The first is Gojek, second is GoTo Financial, and the last Tokopedia. Next. Next, we can go directly to this part. So to answer the questions about what kind of supports and social protection initiatives that we are providing to driver partners and merchants, we have the 3 main supports that we recently are doing. First of all, we provide academy, training, and financing support for driver and merchant partners in terms of many different programs, but all under the umbrella of what we call as Go Nusantara program. This is the program that aims to provide and equip our driver partners and merchants to thrive in the COVID-19 pandemic environment by going digital, and how to optimize their digital presence to thrive and to improve their business and to get more success via the ecosystem of our platforms. And then the second, driver protection programs. We have a lot of initiatives that I can explain later. And the next is COVID-19 related supports like vaccination programs, as well as some supports that we provide for our drivers and also merchants. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is to elaborate a little bit about the academy and financing programs and also trainings that we are providing. So first of all, the problems that we are seeing right now is that MSMEs, micro, small, and medium enterprises, they do not have enough capability not to produce the goods itself and services because they are good at that, but how to manage the business. That's why we provide training to give them the basic understanding of business management and also financial management. And the second step is then how we can provide the access to the market so that they can promote and then sell and then also earn more by utilizing the digital platforms that are available right now. And the last, the main and also classic problem that are faced by MSMEs across the countries, and not only exclusive in Indonesia, but also in other countries, is access to capital facilities. That's why GoTo is providing the capital access to our MSMEs partners so that they can enlarge and expand their business to widen their reach and earn more. Next. These are some examples of the driver protection programs. Health and accident insurance are free of charge. All our drivers are covered directly when they are getting into our platform. And then also we have a Swadaya program. We provide vehicle services for the riders that are in our Gojek and GoRide and GoCar platform. And also we provide other health insurance in partnerships with providers like Jasara Harja, Allianz, and Pasar Polis. We also provide BPJS Ketenagakerjaan, which I would explain later. Next. Next. Yeah, I think this part is what this talk show is all about the support that we provide for the driver partners in terms of social protections, which is membership to BPJS Ketenagakerjaan. Our partnership with BPJS Ketenagakerjaan started in 2018. We signed an MOU with them to help our driver partners to be part of that environment so that they have social protection from the government. Under the MOU, we agree to have a special channel in our application and in BPJS Kesehatan application to help our drivers to easily access BPJS Ketenagakerjaan services. So they can pay via this special channel and then directly pay the membership. Until now, since 2018, we already have around 100,000 drivers enrolled under BPJS Ketenagakerjaan program. So we hope that in the future, the membership of BPJS Ketenagakerjaan from our platform would continue to rise with the availability of this special channel and also ease of payment via our platforms. I think that would be the initial explanation that I can give. I would also welcome some questions and discussions after this if delegates or participants have. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Ranga, for sharing with us the kinds of initiatives and programs that GoTo has initiated to strengthen social safety nets for the non-standard workers in its ecosystem. I think from Ranga's presentation, we can see that the private sector has a big role to complement the works of government in providing social protection for workers. As we have seen, GoTo provided both sort of organic programs that come organically from GoTo, but it also provides ease of access for its workers to access social insurance programs that come from the government. So thank you, Ranga, for that. Now, I want to move on to Clarice. So, Clarice, you have been extensively involved in the Catalyst program, which, among others, seek to contribute to skill development of the Indonesian workforce through partnerships with international, and in this case, Australian, vocational education and training providers. And we know that skilling is an essential part of improving youth employment outcomes. So based on your experience, Clarice, how can international partnerships and non-government actors in this context play a role in providing quality vocational training and skills development in Indonesia, especially for disadvantaged youths? Please.
Thank you for that. I do have some slides, which I think are going to come onto the screen. Yep. Okay, great. So yeah, today I'm really thankful to be here in Palembang. This is the first time that I've come to Palembang, although I've been to many other places in Sumatra before, and I even used to live in Bengkulu. I am currently based in Jakarta, and as Sheila has mentioned, I work in the Australia-Indonesia bilateral relationship. Now, when this particular topic was presented to me, I was really excited because it kind of combines two loves of mine. So if you go to the next slide, The reason that it combines two loves of mine is that I am the National President of the Australia-Indonesia Youth Association, as well as the Lead Advisor for Skills in the IA-SEPA ECP Catalyst Program. IA-SEPA is the Indonesia-Australia Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, and ECP is its Economic Cooperation Program. And today's topic is touching on both non-government organisations and vocational education and training. So this is kind of the perfect thing for me to talk about. So I'm really grateful. So just for some context, the Australia-Indonesia Youth Association is a bilateral youth association that aims to better connect young Australians and Indonesians to each other and to Indonesia-Australia related opportunities. We focus on this area because Australia and Indonesia, whilst also being obviously both G20 members, are neighbours, and we will always be neighbours. So it's a mission of ours to better connect each other's countries and to create opportunities in several sectors for young people to get to know each other better. Everybody who works at IA is a volunteer. We all do it out of the love of our own, love for the Australia-Indonesia relationship. And we think it's a really worthwhile endeavour. And one of the great things about IA is that it's providing a lot of opportunities for young Australians and Indonesians to gain a lot of skills that they go on to use in their professional lives, which I'll touch on in a second. So if you go to the next slide. So this relates to my professional job at Catalyst as a lead advisor for skills. As mentioned, Catalyst is a new bilateral economic cooperation program between the governments of Australia and Indonesia, supported by the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade on the Australian side and Bappenas on the Indonesian side. And we're essentially looking to better connect businesses between Australia and Indonesia in several sectors. Priority sectors include agribusiness, health, advanced manufacturing, tourism, and so forth. But one of the things that the program focuses on is skills development. Now, within the skills portfolio, we're actually much more interested in connecting with the private sector, so this touches on what Ranga has just touched on, whereby the private sector has a huge role to play in upskilling the Indonesian workforce, almost more so than the education system. And so there's a great opportunity between Indonesian businesses looking to develop professional development training with Australian vocational and training providers. So if we go to the next slide. Skills in Indonesia is a bit of a tricky topic. I think it's not news for everybody in this room that the Indonesian government has a focus on human capital development and that the education system in Indonesia generally performs lower than its ASEAN neighbours. And so there's a huge role that all essentially players can do in order to better upskill the youth of Indonesia. You can see some statistics on this slide whereby nearly 40% of the population have graduated from senior high school, but that obviously means that there's a significant number of Indonesians who didn't even graduate from high school and so are entering the Indonesian workforce very underskilled and without the technical expertise that they need in order to conduct their jobs properly. So on one sense, we have a huge role that the private sector plays, but on the other sense, we have a huge role that other non-government actors can play because obviously undertaking training and professional qualifications or going to universities is something that seems slightly inaccessible for a large section of the population. So if you just go to the next slide. So really just quickly touching on the role of non-government actors, I see organisations which are non-government or volunteer-led being able to fill some of that gap whereby it's not only about the technical expertise that a person has and their formal qualification, but also the other skills that they pick up along the way in order to gain experience and seek more meaningful means of employment. Within AYA, I've met a lot of people, particularly Indonesians, who have come into the organization and they're saying it's very difficult for them to find a job, they don't have the skills that particular employers are looking for, they need to gain experience somehow, and in order to be hired, they need to have prior experience. Obviously, that's all very hard, and it's also not a specific problem to Indonesia. But I think that one of the benefits that I've seen within this NGO is that we're able to provide a lot of informal and soft skills to people, which then puts them slightly ahead in terms of being able to gain meaningful employment. And so if we see more of that happening, I think we can definitely increase opportunities for young Indonesians, disadvantaged people, people with disability, people from minority groups. And it should be something that's considered in a more, I suppose, meaningful and impactful way. So I'll stop there because I know we've got a Q&A. So you can go to the next slide and that's it. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. Thank you very much, Clarice, for sharing with us, ways to strengthen skill development in Indonesia. As you point out in your slide, there's a massive skill gap in Indonesia. By 2030, we need actually 58 million more upskilled workers in order to address or to answer current labor demand. So we'll dig deeper into that. But for now, I'd like to go to Samir first, online. Mr. Samir, obviously you are an expert in labor issues, skill development and social protection through your current work in ADB as well as your past role in ILO. So you have done a lot of work in modernizing education and training practices as well as social protection delivery in efforts to build a more agile and resilient workforce. So based on your expertise and experience, how can we ensure a robust social safety net that not only protects the youth from falling into poverty and social exclusion, but also helps them earn a better living through better employment opportunities? So, Mr. Samir, if you can share with us your insights. All right, Samir? Okay, I think you are still on mute. If you can please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear. Thank you.
Sorry, it had to happen since it's I'm
that's all
speaking
right.
virtually. So first of all, thank you for having me. I wish I was there with you. What I'm going to do is I'll spend 6-7 minutes basically talking about COVID-19 and how it has impacted labor markets in Southeast Asia, particularly Indonesia, and looking at the youth, the impact on youth. And I'll spend a couple of minutes talking about the role social protection plays in mitigating the impact and helping youth transition into employment. When we talk about the impact channels of COVID-19, there are three main channels. The first is job disruption. For the folks who are lucky enough to have a job in paid or self-employment, the types of impact that they saw was, one was reduction in working hours, second, reduction in earnings. So some of them, doing the same job, but now earning a lot less than before. And for those who lost their jobs, job losses as well. So we saw a lot of job losses in 2020. So that was the one type of disruption. The second type was a disruption in education and training. And this is an important one because a lot of the schools, they were closed during COVID-19, universities as well. So, and a lot of the learning and the education moved online. And we are just starting to find out that school closures the impact of school closures could be with us for a long time. And this is one of the major disruptions that we have seen in the past 2 years. The third type of impact is difficulties transitioning from school to work. And this is an important one, especially for young people, is because many of us who entered the labor market not too long ago, the transition from university to employment or from high school to employment is a difficult process. You know, you start with an internship, sometimes it works into a full employment, that turns into a full employment, sometimes it doesn't. So it's a difficult process, right? But even to get that first opportunity, usually it's not that easy. And so now this transition period has been impacted by COVID-19. When I just look at the youth share in job losses across the 4 countries I presented here, Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, if you just look at Indonesia, some of the sectors there, manufacturing, so the blue bars are youth share in employment pre-COVID, so in 2019, and then the red bars are youth share of job losses. So what you're looking at is that youth share in employment is much lower than their share in job losses. So this is a phenomenon in labor economics. We call it last in, first out. So young people tend to be the last people to have been employed in that firm, in that particular firm. But they also tend to be the first one to be let go when there's a crisis, when there's a decrease in demand. They are the first ones to be let go. And we see this across different sectors in Indonesia and elsewhere in Southeast Asia as well. Some of the sectors that were hardest hit were also the sectors where young people were working or typically would work. For example, wholesale and retail trade is one, manufacturing is the other one, real estate business and administrative activities, and accommodation and food services. Accommodation and food services, a lot of these types of jobs are in tourism. And when you look at that table there, I'm sorry you can't really read it, but what it's basically showing you is that, for example, take manufacturing in Indonesia, 27% of all jobs that were lost in Indonesia in 2020 were in the manufacturing sector. And a lot of young people also do go into that sector. When we look at the types of skills, and if you look at the different skill groups, skilled, semi-skilled, and high-skilled, or skilled, if you look at those 3 sort of a breakdown, you see that low skilled and semi-skilled, those types of workers were the ones that were most impacted by the crisis, and this will have a long-term impact going forward. If I have to sum up sort of the risk young workers face due to non-standard employment. Non-standard employment, there are different ways this can be defined, but informal work is one typical sort of non-standard employment. The ILO has a very specific definition of this, but when you look at the risks that young people face, there are different types of risks. In that pie chart that you see, employment is the first one, earnings is the second one, hours, occupational safety and health. What this is basically telling you is that if a young worker is in non-standard employment, the risks that they face is 1, they could lose their employment. 2nd, their earnings could be reduced at any time, like this type of crisis, like COVID-19 we saw. Hours could be reduced. So a lot of these risks that they face, right? So when you look at the right-hand side, some of the things that I've pointed out here is how do you address these types of risks? First, we need to put in place good regulation to sort of restrict the use of non-standard employment. In some cases that this can be done, in some it cannot be. We can get into it during the Q&A. The second is strengthening social protection, and this is a key aspect of sort of addressing non-standard employment. And the last one is on instituting employment and social policies. Good employment policies go a long way in addressing this. Sorry, you can't really read this, but what this slide is basically showing you is that pre-pandemic social protection gaps across the region there were significant gaps, and this is linked to the high informality rate. If you look at the red rectangle in the middle on the left-hand side there, so that's sort of the typically social safety net programs are used in countries like Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam. We see this type of social safety net, which are typical example would be your PKH, your social transfers, your social assistance. That's one example of a social safety net. On the right-hand side, those blue bars that I'm showing you is that the proportion of population protected in at least one area of social protection. Here, in case of Indonesia, is 28%, which is much lower than your average for Asia and the Pacific. Things have changed in the past 2 years, so we don't have the most recent numbers, but nonetheless, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in this space. And during the crisis, and here are the couple of charts, no need to really try to understand what's here, but what it is basically trying to show you is that a lot of those programs that already exist, like PKH, were sort of expanded during the crisis, and that had a positive impact on sort of mitigating the impact of COVID-19. And one example I want to leave you with is this Kartu Prakarja. Most of you probably know about this. So the early evidence of Kartu Prakarja, this is from an impact evaluation that's currently being done. The early evidence is very positive. The left-hand side is about employability. So if you look at the treatment group, people who went through the KPK program, they were more likely to be employed or self-employed. On the right-hand side, the ones who went through that program were also more likely to get training. So this is my last slide. I wanted to leave with this because to say that social safety net for young workers has to be combined with some kind of a training assistance that helps them go into employment. And this is critical because at that stage it's very important to also work on training and counseling, and it's making that transition back into labor market. So social assistance has to be combined. And Kartu Prakarja, I have to give credit to Indonesian government for introducing this. This has been a fantastic program so far. So let's see how it fares going forward. Thank you. That's it from my side. And you can find more the study is at this link. Over to you. Thank you.
All right, amazing. Very, very insightful and interesting presentation, Samir. Thank you very much. I think the key highlight from your presentation was your point about how we need to link social protection measures with active training programs, essentially ways to help connect youth with better jobs. So not only providing protection floor to prevent them from falling further into poverty, but also lift them up through empowerment and active labor market policies to help them access better jobs. So amazing. Thank you again, Samir. So I think I have some follow-up questions on responding to the key highlights that was presented by our speakers. So I think first I want to go to Rangga. As we see, companies like Gotoh again has provided meaningful contribution to strengthening social safety nets for workers in Indonesia. And obviously, going forward, we want to see more and more companies do things like Gotoh. But obviously, Gotoh being a very big company, it's not very easy for other companies to emulate what you guys are doing. So I'm just curious as to, how do you see the private sector can make a more meaningful but also sustainable contribution to complement what the government is doing in terms of providing social safety nets for disadvantaged workers? What kind of incentives or what kind of encouragement that is needed for private sector to be involved sustainably, in the long term to improve our social safety nets in Indonesia?
Yeah, very good question. Though there are two keywords here. First is about socialization, and second about access, because not all people, especially the general population, knows about social protections and where they can get it, including those working in our ecosystem. That's why we do a lot of socializations or information dissemination sessions for our driver partners and merchants about the available options for them to access health insurance, BPJS Kesehatan, BPJS Ketenagakerjaan. What are the benefits of having those social and health protections for their own self and their families? And the second part is to provide them with easier access so that they are not involved in the very difficult procedure to access all those services. That's why we have a partnership with BPJS Ketenagakerjaan to provide a special channel for our driver partners to access and be a member of the BPJS Ketenagakerjaan, and provide them with also easier method of payments directly from the platforms that they are familiar with. And these two, socialization and also easier access, would be able to actually improve the number of people who are enrolled in the conventional or non-conventional social protection accesses that is provided by private sector as well as by the government.
Okay, thank you very much, Rangga. I think your comment was spot on because one of the results in Y20 white paper that we published earlier is that youth have very limited awareness and knowledge of social protection programs by the government, but at the same time they actually expect the government to provide them with appropriate safety nets. So that access to information and increase of literacy and awareness is super important, and that is one of the roles that private sector can do. So, Clarice, building up on that, essentially what Rangga was saying was that the private sector has a bigger role in complementing the job of government, but how do you see it from the lens of youth? Like, what do you think are needed the most by youth, in terms of protection and support for them in order to thrive in the world of work?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because a lot of the time, I suppose, decisions around education policy and training are often not made by the people that the training is there for. And so there's sometimes a mismatch. And again, that plays out with industry as well. So you have obviously the education system, and then you have the private sector who need a certain level of skilled workers to work within their industries, right? But there's often very little conversation happening in between them to ensure that the students who are going through various education programs have the actual skills that industry is looking for. So from, I suppose, a youth perspective, I think that young people are saying they want to have better access to education generally. I mean, it's very clear from the statistics available in Indonesia that a large portion of young Indonesians are simply not able to access education to a level that enables them to go on to find meaningful employment, and that is causing issues within the labor market. On top of that, I think there is a need for alternative methods of seeking qualifications, so moving away from this reliance on having to have a bachelor's degree, for example. A bachelor's degree is a 3 or 4 year commitment, is generally relatively expensive. It's something that is just simply inaccessible for a lot of people. And so what are the alternatives to providing training that becomes more accessible? And so in the vocational space, something that I think a lot of people are becoming a lot more interested in are things like micro-credentials, short, sharp opportunities for them to become upskilled in a vocational trade in order for them to say to an employer, hey, I have done some training within this, now consider me for this position. And I think in the private sector, they're kind of switching on to that a little bit more. So for example, Google now has stopped asking people, that it's a requirement that you have to have a bachelor or a master's degree. And I think that's the direction that we should be heading in, because we're otherwise just cutting out a huge number of young people from the labor market in order for them to go on and find, jobs and have that job security. So I'd say that, youth are saying they need alternatives and they need access as well.
All right, thank you. So again, access to quality education and affordable, accessible training opportunities are always important. And I believe this is, one issue that has been carried or championed by Y20 actually in the previous summits, and I believe this will again, be highlighted in this year's summit. So, okay, thank you, Clarice. Now, Samir, I think we've seen and we've understand that, inevitably technology and digital infrastructure will play an integral role in delivering social and employment services to our workforce. For example, the one that Ranga mentioned about the ease of payment that GoTo has provided to help their workers pay social insurance programs. So I believe this is a domain that you have had extensive experience on. How do you think we can best exploit developments in the technology sphere to improve protection and employment outcomes for youth? Samir?
Hi, sorry, I can't unmute myself, so this keeps happening. Sorry, it's a fantastic question, and I think what I would say is that one of the biggest challenges that we face in Indonesia is, how do you leverage digital technology to reach the most vulnerable, so the poorest households in terms of benefit payment for social protection, and the private sector has been playing a very key role. So which is very good, and I'm glad to hear that there has been effort made in that direction. One of the things that worries me sometimes is that whether we reach the most vulnerable with digital payment system. And of course, the system has improved a lot in the past few years even, and also it has become cheaper, and the prevalence of smartphones has also made it easier to reach poorest households. So I think this is a direction that will be going forward, and there's no doubt about that. I think the other aspect of this that's also very important for the government is regulation about data security, identification, and these things are also very critical, and we need to be mindful of that going forward. And I know there's efforts being done in this direction, and I know Indonesia has been working with development partners in this space, including ADB. So yeah, I would say that this is the direction we should be going, and I'm glad the private sector has been playing a key role as well. Over to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Samir. You touched on data issue before, the need for the government to provide ample regulatory framework or regulatory support in order to, exploit, the data that is available for better social protection and employment services for youth. We have actually one question from YouTube, so from the audience online, and this question is for Ranga. She asked, is there any initiatives from GoTo that use data sharing to empower micro and small medium enterprises?
To be very honest, I'm not very sure what the data sharing context that she means in this question, but we do have many initiatives that empower MSMEs, because in GoTo, MSMEs are our biggest customers. There are around 11 million MSMEs involved in our platform and have been touched by some of our empowerment program that I have mentioned earlier, like Go Nusantara. We also have, as a derivative of that program, which is called a Bangkit Bersama program, which we provide skills, especially to MSMEs players, because not all of these players have basic understandings about business, financial management, promotion, marketing. Even not all of them can do like the basic stuff, taking good photos to promote their stuff online or through our platform, GoFood, Tokopedia. We did and provide all of those trainings to these MSMEs, and so far millions of these MSMEs in our ecosystem have been touched by this training. And also we have, if you open Tokopedia, we have Bangga Buatan Indonesia, which is a very special channel for buyers to access products that are produced by our very own MSMEs, locally made by people who are from Indonesia, and also producing mostly some Indonesian identity products that can be accessed through our platform. And in terms of using the data to provide some insights for not only MSMEs but the public in general who are interested to do business, we do produce in the past few years, you can check it on media online, some reports regarding what kinds of foods that are sold very good in our platforms, what kinds of foods or latest drinks that people like to consume, so that give insights in general of what kinds of businesses that people can direct in the future to adjust with the customers' demand, so that when they decide to switch or to modify what they have, it is in line with the trends and they can ride with the positive trends and improve their sales.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Rangga, for sharing that. Do we still have time for questions from the audience here in this room? Or, okay, so maybe one question. Anyone who would like to ask a question to our speakers here on the stage? If there's anyone who wants to ask a question, please state your name and organization or affiliation, and then your question. Okay. So I think most of us are tired by now. It's almost 10 p.m. Palembang time. But thank you very much, Rangga, Clarice, and Samir, for your insightful presentations and information. I think we can all agree that social safety nets and efforts to support skilling for young workers, especially those who work in informal and non-standard forms of employment, are crucial to help them achieve better employment outcomes in this day and age. So thank you again, and thank you to the audience for your participation. I think this is the end of our talk show tonight. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Marshila Panji, and it's been an honor for me to moderate the discussion tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow with our next events. So good night, and thank you, everybody.
We'd like to take a photo together, which I'm pleased to say. And to all the speakers, we would like to take a picture first. And all the first, maybe who would like to capture this moment, you may take a picture of three of them.
So once again, please give big applause for all the speakers and also the moderator of the talk show for this event. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we thank our knowledge partners who will continue to work alongside us as we move forward. The Y20 organizer from each G20 country and the EU for their collaboration.
And we wish our delegates the very best in your discussions and negotiations. Once again, welcome to the wonderful Indonesia, home to the Y20 Indonesia 2022.
And on behalf of the Y20 co-chairs and the organizing committee, Indonesian Youth Diplomacy, we would like to thank you for attending the opening ceremony of the first press summit of Y20 Indonesia 2022.
And finally, Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Santi 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 Om.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all. Thank you very much.